Well, hi there. I know you can't see me. Well, you can see my hands. But what I'm going to be doing is creating a few videos that you will be watching on your own time. So the videos are going to be anywhere from maybe 3 to 5 minutes long. And they'll be going over some various important economic concepts. And as I explained before at the first day of class, that these videos are essentially covering material that I would normally cover, but I've realized it's more efficient for students to attack this material sort of on their own time. So after you watch the videos, then you're going to be essentially doing some practice problems, and then you're also going to be doing some problems for a grade. So as I explained before in class, the idea is you will be asked to get a certain minimum score, and if you're not able to achieve those scores, then the idea is then you will have to go to tutoring or come talk to me for help with the information. So essentially what I want to do is I want to start off with the idea of graphing. Now, I realize that when a lot of you hear the word graphs, you probably freak out and you maybe have a brief panic attack. All right? So, in economics, the idea is that we're focusing on the word relationships. Now, this is not psychology or sociology where we're investigating relationships like relationships with your loved one, with your partner, with your family. We don't talk about platonic relationships. We don't talk about dysfunctional relationships. We don't talk about loving relationships. Essentially, a relationship is, well, just like I guess you could say on a personal level, is the idea of a connection. Okay? And what does that mean? A connection means that if event A happens, therefore event B. Okay? So if it's really warm out, I'm going to drink a lot of water. If everyone is going to see the new Barbie movie or Oppenheimer movie, then I will go see it too. If I have more money in my paycheck, I'm going to spend more money. If I need to lose weight, I'm going to exercise. I'm going to cut back on unhealthy foods. If the price of gas goes up, I'm going to maybe take less trips. So the idea is that we're exploring relationships. So typically, relationships can actually be expressed in terms of words. So remember what I said is if the price goes up for gas, then more than likely I'm going to buy less. Okay? There's also going to be a relationship in terms of numbers. So if we had a table here, and the table had the price of gas and the amount that people were going to buy, and let's say gas is $3.50, and people buy 10,000 gallons a week in your area, and then the price of gas is $4, and only, let's say, 8,000 gallons are bought. So we've covered words, we've covered numbers, and basically, what are we missing here? We're missing a picture, right? Because this is the numbers, this is words. What we're going to focus on last, and more importantly in this class, is the idea of a graph. All right? And a graph is simply what? It's just a visual way right? To explain something, right? A picture, what's the expression? A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So quite often, as we're going to see, a picture, a cartoon, even a movie clip, right, can tell us stuff. So graphing is important. Graphing is simply going to allow us to interpret a connection between two things. All right. So, and graphing is going to allow us to have shortcuts, meaning we won't have to do a big, long, maybe table. We don't have to maybe write out a big, long essay, but we're going to use graphs. So, essentially, a lot of you are thinking, then how are you going to graph something? Well, let me bring you back, if you don't remember, or if you've forgotten, that essentially we could take this white space and break it down into 4 different groups simply by almost drawing a cross. We would call this line, what we call this line is the x-axis, okay? So essentially, from the x-axis, we can go from left to right. And then we have something called the y-axis, and we're going to go up and we're going to go down. And in order to make sense of these numbers, what we're also going to do is we're going to put numbers or hash marks, right? And if you think about it from a sports perspective, even if you're not a big football fan, you may have seen sports on TV, especially American football, and you've noticed these things called hash marks because they have these measurements. And then what we're also going to be able to do is, by graphing the relationship between something on the x and something on the y, it's also going to allow us to come up with something called a coordinate. Okay? And you might say to yourself, I've never heard of a coordinate. Well, every time you go somewhere and you use the GPS, whether it's Google Maps or Waze, you're using coordinates, right? Growing up, we would use maps. In the military, they use coordinates all the time. So in the next video, we're going to be talking about, well, how do we make sense of this material?